and she's going to talk about the coalition that they formed called Zero Waste Miami. Take it away, Maddie.
Awesome, thank you. Almost last talk of the day. Woo! We did it. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Thank you for putting together this amazing event. We're so lucky to have the experts in this room at the time, in this time of great need. So I'm just very thrilled to be here. So I'm going to talk about Zero Waste Miami, and can I actually get a show of hands? Can you raise your hands if you work or live in Miami? Okay, cool. And then what about in Florida? Okay, cool. And then what if you're from another state or other country? Yeah, amazing. Really, really awesome spread of people. And whether or not you're in Miami, I definitely want to pick your brain and you can get involved. So you should still pay attention. So yeah, I work for Debris Free Oceans. We are a Miami-based nonprofit. We're turning 11 in this month in April. And we really work to empower local communities to go zero waste, so everyone can have access to clean oceans and a healthy environment, which I believe everyone in this room does as well. And just a little bit of background on our programs. We do a lot of education in schools, so we've educated like over 13,000 students about marine debris and plastics. We do a ton of community cleanup, so we picked up over like 50,000 pounds of trash with over 10,000 volunteers, but really work to use those as an educational tool for prevention. And then we do consulting with local governments and small businesses to either make sustainability campaigns to reduce waste or to help small businesses eliminate certain products and save money. But today I'm going to talk about our exciting new program called Zero Waste Miami. We're about a year and 3 months old now, so we're very new. We didn't really get heavy funding until September. Thankfully, we got some funding from NOAA to formalize this coalition. But basically, over our 10 years of working in Miami, we noticed that there were like so many really awesome people from schools, from businesses, from governments, doing really incredible zero waste work that didn't necessarily know about each other. And we really wanted to create a platform for people to connect and work together and bring some of their solutions to scale. And we were a little worried to see, if this is something that people agreed that they wanted. There are already a lot of coalitions in Miami working on climate, working on the state again. So we were like, let's see if this sticks. If it doesn't, we'll move on to another project. We sent out some surveys and got really good feedback from the community, and so we were able to formalize this. And so we are a coalition of nonprofits, businesses, and governments working to build Miami's circular economy. And this is our vision, which was adapted from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, because they have an incredible definition for circular economy. So we couldn't move far from that, but just to read it quickly, uniting Miami-Dade stakeholders to develop a local economic system where material use and disposal are reduced as much as possible, so prioritizing reduction. And then materials that cannot be reduced are maintained in circulation through reuse, repurpose, and repair. And then remaining waste is sustainably managed through recycling and composting. And really excitingly, we actually have over 130 members. They're technically informal members right now because in December, we hosted some framework building events to formalize, who we are. And we have a document that people are currently signing off on to become formal members. That's in process. But right now, over 130 people have either joined a mailing list, joined our WhatsApp chat, and this is representing more than 100 entities in Miami-Dade County, across schools, across businesses, across government, across community members. And so it's really incredible to see the buy-in and interest at the local level. Don't need to go too much into this slide because I feel like we already talked a lot about why Miami needs this today, but a lot of you all probably know we've produced more than double the national average of waste per person per day. Our incinerator burnt down, our landfills are filling up, our recycling contamination rates are incredibly high, our waterways are very polluted, so that's one reason why Miami. But on the flip side, to think about it positively, and I like that we were kind of talking about, I think Michelle was saying this needs to be fun and enjoyable. On the flip side, why Miami is there's a lot of really exciting momentum happening in Miami right now. The county is working on a zero waste master plan, which is super exciting. And we are seeing a ton of reuse and refill happening here in just the last few years. Both of our major universities, FIU and University of Miami, have reusable to-go containers in their dining halls, which is incredible. We have a refillery with now 2, it used to be 3 locations where you can go and refill your own products. We have a reusable cup company that will give the reusable cups to events, so we don't use a bunch of single-use plastic cups at events. And the list goes on. There are also many amazing composting entities. We have Fertile Earthworm Farm here and Renewable. We also have a bunch of, or a few smaller private recycling companies that have adjusted their methodologies and only collect certain items just to increase their recycling rates. You can choose to, work with them if you want to ensure some higher recycling rates of your products. And excitingly, the University of Georgia did a circularity assessment protocol in the city of Miami back in, I want to say 2021, and did a full assessment of our circularity and opportunities. So that laid a bunch of groundwork for this work. And then there has been some successful movement against rebuilding the incinerator in Miami-Dade County, thanks to work of many nonprofits, shouting out Sierra Club and Florida Rising, to name a few. And so there's a lot of momentum to build some of these true reduction prevention solutions that to scale in Miami. And so what we kind of see as our model is this kind of circular connections where we created this coalition to bring together those that want to implement these circular solutions, connect them with the entities that provide those circular solutions like Renewable, like Fertile Earthworm Farm, connect them with the relevant government entities and agencies to discuss what is the regulatory framework and permitting considerations we need to have. Are there tax incentives available? Connect them with the public and nonprofits to raise awareness and get excited about these projects that are happening. And then that should hopefully close this loop so that there are more people interested in implementing these initiatives and keep this circle flowing. And so excitingly, with our NOAA funding, we have funding to do a few activities. One is maintaining these communication channels. So we've got our WhatsApp chat, our mailing list, and we do host monthly Zoom meetings and have guest speakers present about successful circular initiatives they've been working on. We had framework building events, which I have a slide on in a sec that I will switch to. We'll be doing some strategy development with the coalition through a 4-part workshop series, which I'll have a slide on. And then we'll just be doing ongoing research about what's happening here, what's happening nearby, what solutions can we bring to South Florida, what solutions can we raise awareness on that's happening in South Florida, and ultimately just continue to raise awareness on these solutions. And then while we don't have funding to do pilot programs right now with the specific grant, we're hoping that that is really something that follows at the end of this 2-year program. And so our framework building events we did in December, this was super important and I was very excited to do. It involved getting everyone together after 2 different meetings, and we kind of co-developed and brainstormed on our mission, vision, goals, guiding principles, membership criteria, voting systems, all the really important stuff that I wish we could have done when we started in January, but did not have the funding to do. But we put together this handbook that just clearly defines all of that. So as we begin to continue doing work in the community, we have this clear kind of description of who we are. And so I delivered a QR code for that. So I finished that draft or our final version after I submitted my slides. But then the other big component of the grant is this workshop series. So we will ideally be hosting 4 workshops. And our first one is actually going to be on Tuesday. So if you're interested in that and haven't signed up, the registration deadline for that was today. So please find me and we can chat about it. But it's basically getting the coalition members together to come up with this waste diversion and prevention strategy from the ground up, from the community. And so this first workshop on Tuesday is going to be doing an audit of waste production and waste management and waste diversion in South Florida, so we can see what are we producing, what's being managed, and what are the gaps. And then in future workshops, we're going to figure out how to fill those gaps. And then in terms of what management solutions we have right now, we'll map out, what's been successful and what's been really challenging, so that in future workshops, we can figure out how to scale what's already been proven as successful and how can we come up with strategies to overcome challenges, overcome barriers, make sure things are accessible. And then the last workshop is going to be dedicated to implementation. And so before that workshop, we're going to have the coalition vote on what we think our top priority projects are when it comes to waste prevention and diversion projects. And based on a top subset of those projects, we'll bring those into that final workshop and come up with detailed implementation plans, budget, timelines, who needs to be involved. And then again, do enough funding to implement those, but ideally we'll have these shovel-ready projects that will be ready for identifying funding to support. And one part of the grant is also the Zero Waste Miami Resource Hub that we share with the coalition, but also is public facing. So you're more than welcome to use this and share it. It has a directory of our zero waste service providers in South Florida. So composting, reuse, refill, recycling, donating, lending, swapping, all that good stuff. We have an events calendar of zero waste events in Miami. We have funding opportunities, policy opportunities, volunteer opportunities, employment opportunities, just hopefully anything you would ever need to work on zero waste in Miami. And just to shout out again, like the momentum we have in South Florida, this is just a sneak preview of that directory of service providers broken out into some of these themes where we have Cup Zero is the reusable cup program, Reuse Pass and Aussie are the reusable container programs at the universities. EcoPod kiosk is a refill kind of vending machine that they used to have at Sedano's and farm stores. So you don't necessarily have to go to a completely different refillery, but they're trying to place them in common supermarkets. But our amazing composting and food waste, recycling, sustainability consulting, some sustainable disposables that are maybe more recyclable and compostable. But it's just really incredible that all of this is already starting to happen in South Florida. So preliminary results, just wanted to highlight even before we started doing these workshop series, before we kick this off on next Tuesday, we're already seeing pretty significant waste diversion by just connecting people on this WhatsApp chat, on this mailing list. One great connection was getting this nonprofit Recreate Miami connected with Ultra Music Festival. Last year, they diverted 9 tons of wood material from the event after connecting in the WhatsApp. And then this year, Recreate Miami wanted to make an app to post all these materials for to divert. And she needed support to build this app, and she found support to build that app in the WhatsApp chat. And then she launched a beta version and needed people to test it. She found people to test the app in that WhatsApp chat, and it's since gone live, and they're using it to divert even more material this year. After election season, everybody had their election signs that they wanted to repurpose, and they were just getting election signs swapped everywhere. Richard took some for recycling. One of the composting groups took it to make signs. Just all sorts of changing or lending, swapping, support sharing. And there is really amazing active participation. I already kind of highlighted our membership. The monthly meetings are pretty well attended. We have like 30 plus people on each month, which is very great. Our resource hub is very active. And then we do try to, measure our impact as best as possible. So we send out quarterly surveys to see how people think things are going. How are they using the resource hub? Do they think we're doing a good job at achieving some of our goals? And we are seeing a lot of people, like 48%, using the resource hub to find the zero waste service providers. 10% using to find funding opportunities, citing the 83% of the coalition is doing a good job of connecting people to catalyze circularity projects. So we're pretty pleased by these preliminary results, and I'm pretty optimistic to see how the workshop series goes when we kick off on Tuesday. And so if you want to get involved, those that raise their hand in the Miami region, this QR code will take you to an old registration form. Again, sorry, I've done a lot of launching since I submitted these slides, but they'll take you to an old registration form that links to the new one. And there you'll find our Zero Waste Miami handbook, so you can read about exactly what we're doing and then complete that form if you want to get involved and kind of agree with our work and mission. And we'd love to have you participate in those workshop series. We all come from really different areas of expertise, and we really value your input and your knowledge, so we can build this up together. And then eventually, this will probably be in like a year, but once we have our waste diversion strategy, we'd love your help sharing it, getting it out to the community, to local government, to all sorts of stakeholder groups. And then I know for the non-locals, you guys have done such amazing work in the various parts of the world where you're from. We love learning from you. So if you have solutions that maybe aren't on our resource hub yet, or have a way to bring some initiative that you've worked on to South Florida, we are all ears. We don't want to recreate the wheel. So please also connect with me. And I think that was about it. So thank you.
Thank you, Maddie. We have time for a question or two. Does anybody have a question for Maddie? Come on up to the mic. I have a question if no one has a question. Do we have time? Do you see with this coalition, like, do you foresee all the workshops and everything? Is there like a strategic plan, like, 2 years, 5 years, to kind of get to these goals? Is that written in the grant?
Yeah, so this grant is only a 2-year grant. And so when it comes to kind of strategic planning, we could only dedicate so much time to this longer term vision. We kind of needed to hone in on, what we're doing in these next few years so that it can inform, the project that the dollars are coming from. But I will say we kind of see this as like part one of a 3-staged approach, where this is the planning phase, this next 2 years, where we're figuring out what projects do we really want to see within the school system, within certain neighborhoods, within the recycling space, figuring out plans for what we really want to work on. And then stage 2 would be implementation. So we'll have these plans, we'll have these strategies. Again, this is all grand vision. I'm like, hopefully this all goes as to plan. But it would involve actually implementing those projects, building the infrastructure, implementing the solutions. And then we think that could move into a phase 3 of policy, where we can actually transition to really focusing on passing legislation to require some of these solutions, because we can't require things that we don't have the infrastructure for. So long story short, we have a very loose strategic plan, but excited to have it keep evolving and, revisiting our goals every year so that we can adapt based on what we're experiencing.
Great, thank you. Well, round of applause for Maddie. Thanks, Maddie.